The blockchain opened up opportunities. You can innovate out of Ghana, you can innovate out of Georgia. Innovation was everywhere in the world. The capital constraints were there. Blockchain has opened up capital in ways you can fundraise that you hadn't been able to before.
STOs, IPOs, IEOs. We're in the process of overhauling the venture capital climate. How do today's nuanced investment vehicles measure up to traditional means of raising capital? Moderated by Balina, Token Metrics. Stephen Meade, MonetaPro. Mikko Puhakka, Lion Partners. Mru Patel.
All right. Hi, nice to meet you. All right, Malta, how are you? Good? All right, so I'm your moderator, Balina, and today we're here to discuss STOs, IPOs, and IEOs. Who here has invested in an IEO? Quick show of hands.
An IEO?
IEO? Nobody?
Wow.
STOs?
Yeah, one.
IPOs? Oh, wow, okay, very interesting crowd. All right, so let's have intros from our panelists here.
Again, Stephen Meade spoke a minute ago, Big Bamboo Incubator, Bullseye Guy, and interest here, I've had 3 public companies on the OTC bulletin board, so my perspective of sort of how these exchanges and things work comes from more of a financial background than a crypto background. But in 2000, I did try and build a global currency, and nobody understood what I was doing. So I've looked at the space for a long time.
All right, thank you.
So my name is Mikko Puhakka from Finland and of Lion Partners. My background is in traditional venture capital, and I've also been involved with angel investing now for some years. So, and in regards to blockchain and crypto space, in the last 12 months, I've been involved with 6 projects that have successfully raised money, even though they've been resorting to more the traditional methods than ICOs and so forth.
All right, thank you very much.
Mru Patel from Excoin Futures. We are a futures digital trading platform. We've already raised the monies and been operational for a year. We just did our first year doing digital options and futures trading, just hitting about 1 billion in trading volumes. And we are now taking it globally to raise more investors, but not for investors for the company, but people to start trading and reaping the benefits. 50% of our profits go back to the community.
All right, thank you all. So let's start with the first question. So how do these investment vehicles, mainly IEOs and STOs, compare to traditional ways of raising capital?
Well, when I looked at this years ago, well, years ago being 2 years ago, to me, the IPOs are really at a certain stage. Your company's $100 million, 10 years, you're forever. The direct public offerings had been coming on. So in the US, you've got an OTC, a bulletin board. A DPO means, do I have a big enough audience that I can sell my stock directly to? And that's really what I saw a lot of these exchanges. So the ICOs to me were more like direct public offerings. And the question initially was, are you a security or a token? Which was a weird question, but your token, if it was a security, meant it went up or down. And then the industry screwed themselves again and said, oh, we're now a security token that's equity. Well, why call yourself a security token if you don't want to be regulated as a security? And why call yourself something you just were 6 months before that you didn't want to be called anyway? And now the IEO is nothing more than the exchange promoting. So I think the industry is still finding its way, where, in my opinion, where it's going to land. These are direct public offerings. If you can sell an asset, whether it's a stock on a bulletin board or the LSX or directly to your consumer, to me, they're tradable assets. The exchange, you have to build market makers. It's run like a traditional small cap stock. I think the rest of it's just the industry trying to catch up.
Do you think the industry is progressing in the right direction?
I think the industry's going in the right direction, and there's a lot of enthusiasm. I think it's in my opinion, it's the press and the people who don't understand it who've positioned a lot of things. Calling a lot of this stuff cryptocurrency, they're not currencies. They never will be. They're tradable assets. So You know, if anybody asks if you're a blockchain company, please do me a favor and look at them and say the following. Are you an internet company? The blockchain is a component of what you do, like the internet's there should never be blockchain is not an industry, it's a technology that supports different industries. So, you know, people are like, are you a blockchain company? No, we use blockchain to solve a problem. We're a marketplace. So to me, I'm much more about messaging. We started 5 companies. We're the first one in the world to do something. You have to create a message and build a lane that people can go down. And sometimes if you define one that they don't know what it is, you can define that lane. I think the industry's got a messaging problem, not a technology problem.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's rare that I have to agree with people on the panel because I like to do the debating bit. But I absolutely get it. 2 years ago, as you said, it's a long time. I was on stage with Tim Drapers and all those guys in the Valley. I'm ex-internet, so Sun Microsystems, .com, Java. I was right there in the 90s with it, and said quite a lot of things what you've just said. And I agree. Even in those days when ICOs were really hot, I told the whole gaggle out there in San Francisco, this thing sucks because I can't look, feel, see, touch any of this stuff. And what's a token? What's the value? How'd you create it? You guys have never run a company in your lives before, and you want 10 million, 25 million, like you're going to some candy shop to get for the things. This don't work like that. I'm not looking, and no one wanted to give equity away. I said, if you don't give equity away in your company that doesn't exist without our money, who's going to even invest in you? And again, you said asset. So what I said is, you can window dress it. So I called it asset-backed token in those days. And then STOs came out, and now IEOs. These are all just fluffy things. And, as I said, I don't usually agree with people on the panel, but I've always said traditional ways with sound values. If you don't like the person you're going to invest in and you don't think they've either got the experience or failed and know how to stand up or don't get skin in the game, I want to see them mortgage to their eyeballs before they come and ask me for money, right? So if these things don't happen, you can call it any IEOs, STOs, whatever O's you like, but all those O's mean one big O to me that we don't go to, and I wouldn't invest in those things.
I think one of the key questions that the entrepreneur should ask is that, what is the way for me to access the capital? For a while, it was the ICOs. Now people seem to think it's IEOs and then so forth. So you have to find the kind of a tool and way of accessing the money that makes sense to you, giving the market conditions at the time. Now, coming from the VC background, I don't see VCs going anywhere away anytime soon. I think that there's a role for investors to help in the governance of a company. There's a role for them opening up doors. If you do an ICO or IEO, I mean, you might get the money, maybe, but you don't get any support. But you actually have to manage then the community, and that brings a whole other level of complexity of what you're trying to do.
And that's why the failure rate's so high.
Exactly. Yeah.
What we actually do, it's a phrase I created called retrospective evolution, because both of the guys to my left is who we've dealt with for years. So dealing with venture, dealing with corporate, dealing with hedge funds, dealing with family, they have a certain structure, but they also have a legal guidance and compliance. They cannot invest in tokens. There was no compliance to it, but we still wanted venture corporate money. So we actually created something different that's not on the screen. We created what we call a liquidity token. So we're doing equity rounds. So they get the equity, full compliance, valuations, all of that. Then we do a liquidity token as a grant, almost like a warrant, but I don't want to call it a warrant because they're not buying it. But we created a separate vehicle that if we list a token on an exchange, that investor can take possession of the token in a special purpose vehicle, liquidate it, and we'll use the capital on the exchange to be non-dilutive back into the A round. So we created this structure that said, how do you get your venture guys in and comfortable in compliance retrospectively, but still use the evolution of the exchanges and the liquidity? Because otherwise, you guys, we're stuck in equity for 8 or 10 years together. I want out like you guys do.
Absolutely.
So we looked and we built this hybrid of sort of structural equity and a separate token, but you don't deliver it. It's an option like a warrant that you can call in the future. And we
Yeah.
tried to cover both grounds.
Yeah, we peg our stable coin one-on-one on USDT because currently, 70%, whether we agree or not, is US dollar based, and with 7 trillion trading on a daily basis, that's a lot of money. So we peg it against USDT because it's the only other stable dollar pegged currency. But going forward, this will change. I'm 100% sure this will change. So that gives some form of stability. Now you can go and do the various trades against the top 3 pairs that you want. But soon we will go and do commodities and we will do other things against a digital currency. And this will be the future, that is for sure.
And
Right, so-
go ahead, sorry.
Quick question. So going back to the topic at hand, in terms of redefining investment vehicles, what are your thoughts on DICOs, right? So Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, has proposed a brand new ICO model where leveraging smart contracts, projects raise funds, but the community as a whole votes on the release of funds based on the achievement of milestones, right? So think of it as kind of like traditional equity financing for startups with VCs having multiple rounds, as opposed to a project raising 30 million, slicing that up into maybe chunks of 5 million and having the community as a whole vote on that. Do you think that can be a way to really reinvigorate the ICO market?
But a lot of
They
people
already
are doing
exist.
that.
It's called an ESOP.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that.
An employee stock option. This already exists. The old
Exists.
model is
Yeah, exactly.
employee stock option programs give you voting of discretion of what the board does. It gives you a seat at the board. It's again, I love what the industry's doing,
But
but
as crypto,
sometimes
we have to tokenize everything, right?
No, we don't. That's the whole point. Because everyone's gotten so anal about this thing. You got to tokenize everything. Some things you cannot tokenize, you just be done with it. But yes, everything is possible to tokenize. You can't tokenize your food that you eat and then you tokenize your body. I mean, come on, let's see where we're going, right?
Even on ours, you said something interesting. We raised money in a private round. We did not do an ICO public. Because, and pardon my directness, I didn't want 5,000 people in a Telegram channel chirping at me while we're building a product trying to go to revenue. So managing a shareholder base is a completely different aspect that people didn't realize they had to take on. And when you start getting unhappy people in your Telegram channel and driving your price down, it's adverse to you building a business. You have to manage the direction and relationships. And it's,
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I said, what a lot of the startups, and if there's, how many startups in here, IEOs, ICOs, or whatever? How many? Very few. Wow, that's surprising.
Crypto
So, no, but what I was going to say there is, one of the best tips you could give is, if you adopt some of the old principle ways of doing things with stock options and various other buy-in programs, friends, families, and whatever, before you go out to the masses, you have a moral commitment to deliver to friends, family,
But the
employees.
issue with stock option is it's not so public, right? And it's not
No,
as, as
it's
global.
it's not public, but those are the people who've helped you kickstart your dream, vision, whatever it is. If you're not loyal to them, trust me, the investors are not going to be loyal to
Yes,
you
I mean,
either.
very true, but I feel like looking back in 2017 and part of 2018, I mean, the ICO mania was really a way to have the whole world involved in a project, right? Very rarely can somebody, for example, take a look at a project like Matic Network, right? As an investor, we traveled around the world, in 35 countries in 12 months, discovered them in Hyderabad, India. This project blew up on the world stage thanks to really the blockchain investment movement.
Okay.
And I feel like that's something that was really brought about by innovation in technology in these brand new investment vehicles and made somebody who was somewhere remote in the world where they could speak to the whole world and have the audience kind of hear their idea.
Okay, I'll
invest
give
in
you
them
the
and their
classic
vision.
example, being an Indian, so I'll relate to that even better, right? African Indian, so even relate to you, there you go. So when .com started and you heard all those Java apps and all these applets and all these startups in the .com area started, it was exactly like this ICO time. No one gave a sugar about what happened. I went to a barber's place in San Francisco and said, we had Bill Gates here who was saying this because he was fighting with you guys in Sun. We have Steve Jobs coming here. So we bought that stock. The guys didn't even know what stock trading was. So 2 years ago, a lot of things was, they read something about Bitcoin and heard about some new coin. They just followed and invested for the heck of it. It was very virtually no intelligence put into it.
Yeah, the thing is that in principle, I think that the ICO was a good idea, but then we had a lot of the bad players come on board. So if we had just had good companies, good projects using the ICO model, things would have been great.
Well, I mean, I think the ICO model has proven to fail, but I feel like it can be innovated upon.
It
Right?
hasn't.
They'll die.
I don't think we should throw everything out the window.
The ICO model didn't fail. There were a lot of projects that failed, just like there's a lot of startups that fail. I actually made the argument, and I wish I'd been proven right. I thought more ICOs would be successful because the number one reason companies fail is lack of capital.
Yeah.
So many of these guys raise more money than they would have been able to in traditional financing. I had hoped there had been more successful projects, and there weren't. But to me, the new model was interesting because I may have been in the same one with Tim here a couple of years ago. Tim in Silicon Valley, I have a love-hate relationship with Silicon Valley. They're like, we're the center of innovation.
Love-hate.
Silicon Valley's not the center of innovation. They were the center of capital.
Correct.
You had to go to Silicon Valley and beg for money. The blockchain opened up opportunities. You can innovate out of Ghana, you can innovate out of Georgia. Innovation was everywhere in the world. The capital constraints were there. Blockchain has opened up capital in ways you can fundraise that you hadn't been able to before. The structures just have to start coming in where better projects will survive. The industry will get better. In the early days of the .com, there were a bunch of stock exchanges that failed because you were trading used stocks. I mean, there were stupid ideas that got money. Didn't mean the internet was bad, projects were bad. Blockchain's the same. I just thought there'd be more successful ones because so many people were overcapitalized, but I think that might have killed them. They had too much money and didn't execute in a lean method.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree over there that, where stocks and the pain barriers of the ICO guys trying to collect money and collected a lot of money, but again, I said it right in the beginning, if you haven't managed money or lost money or managed big organizations and seen, there's one way of handling Telegram groups versus one way of handling shareholders. It's two different skill set. Yeah. One's a chat group and the other one is serious business. If you're not answerable to what you did, how did you perform, did you go against strategy, what was your vision, right? What's your plan, where's your milestone, tick, tick, tick. If you don't do that shit, you're dead. The shareholders will say, okay, close you down, give us our money back or something. Chat groups, they don't care, right? Yeah. They just rubbish you on the chat group.
Here was the argument, though, that I made against the people that goes, oh, your token doesn't have equity, you should have equity, and which is what the traditional guys want. I get. My opinion, the reality is, have any of you ever invested in a penny stock, a low cap, a market cap stock? Did you invest because you thought you had equity, or did you invest because you want to buy something at 50 cents and sell it at $1? The reality is you invest because you want to sell it. If these small cap companies go under, equity is a fallacy. You're not going to get distribution. You have no say in the company. So this concept that a token has to be tied to equity, to me, I want to break that, but I want it tied to performance and interest. The bulletin boards are the best example because those are early companies, people are excited, and it's easier for a company to go from 25 cents to $1 than it is for Amazon to go from 1,800 to 4,000.
All right.
It's just liquidity.
Last question as we wrap up. How do we innovate and improve upon those current models?
I think more structure's coming in the marketplace. I think getting some of the terminology right, getting people more comfortable investing.
I would say learn from the past. I mean, we can adopt a lot of the old best practices to the
learn from the past.
Yeah, so for the new models, and then you have a winning combination.
All right.
I say surround yourself with good, experienced mentors, not just Photoshop advisors.
All right, and you heard it there, folks. Thank you very much.